Hello and welcome to another one of my super cool and perspicious videos. School is finally out, and in an effort to unwind after what was honestly a pretty tough year, I dusted off a few movies from a classic franchise that I hadn't watched in a while. That franchise being Studio Ghibli. Ghibli movies have been in my life for as long as I can remember. I'm honestly surprised it took me this long to get around to making a video on it. Now you're probably wondering why I'm making a video on Ghibli in the first place. Well, first of all, it's Ghibli, why wouldn't I make a video on it? And second of all, ever since school got out in early June, I've been trying to come down from the hustle and bustle that was my junior year of high school. Junior year in 2022 as a whole was probably the most contrasting, jam-packed with global and personal events, and probably also the most taxing year I've had since 2020. I also kept getting sick in late 2022, which as you can imagine was just the best. So yeah, part of the reason why I'm making this video is to de-stress after my junior year. Sue me. It's also worth mentioning that this video was originally going to be a rant plus review of Kiki's Delivery Service and Ponyo, but unfortunately I wasn't able to download the full movies like I wanted to. I mean, I did download them, but because technology hates me, my computer wouldn't recognize the files as video files and made them audio files. I even converted them from their original MKV format to an MP4 format. I tried re-encoding, but nothing worked. What I'm saying is that because of this setback, I have to instead make this a more generalized rant about Studio Ghibli as a whole, which isn't exactly a bad thing. I'm just saying that it sucks that I had to change my original plan because technology decided to switch up on me. Shout out to Cash by the way for getting me the files, cause even though it didn't work out exactly as I planned, they still went through the trouble of getting them for me, which is awesome. They've actually been my main method of getting footage for a lot of my videos over the past year, so thank you. Go sub to them, they're underrated. Even though, like I said before, I can't really review Kiki's Delivery Service and Ponyo like I wanted to, I'll still give a potential spoiler warning for that and other Ghibli movies just in case. All in all, words can't express how much comfort Ghibli movies have given me during 2022, which for me was a year of both good and bad changes, and a lot of other stuff that left my brain kapoozled come June. So in an effort to make my brain less kapoozled, I'm gonna rant about my favorite animation studio for however long this video ends up being. So yeah, Studio Ghibli.
Round 1!
If you live under a rock and don't know what Studio Ghibli is, it's a Japanese animation studio that's made movies that I'm sure everyone's seen in one way or another. They're honestly just as iconic as Disney, yet kind of obscure at the same time. They've been in the business since 1985, and all their movies hold up today in 2023. They all have so much love put into them, like each one's handmade by Miyazaki to be the best it can be, while also not trying to be something it's not. Each movie knows what it is and the message it's trying to convey, and it sticks to that. And at the same time, it subverts your expectations and sweeps you off your feet with crisp animation. I personally love it when people take pride in their work, and that really shines through in each and every movie they produce. Each and every one of these movies has time and care put into them. You can see it in everything about each and every Ghibli movie, from the animation to the stories to the character designs and the settings. Plus, to my knowledge, they along with Studio Trigger and KyoAni actually pay their animators fairly, which is always a W in my book. I think far too many animation studios in both Japan and other countries have lost their love of the game. Their work no longer feels inspired, it just doesn't hit the same anymore. Sometimes it just feels rushed, when in reality you can't rush art. Art's a process. If you rush it, you'll make silly mistakes or miss the finer details. That's why properties that get done to death don't have the same oomph to them that people initially came to them for. It feels bland and like a blatant cash grab. But Ghibli doesn't have that problem. None of their movies ever feel like they lost passion for their work, which I love to see. I've always been the type of person who wants to put their all into their work and take pride in what they do. I'd rather not make a video at all than put anything less than my 100% into it. I don't go halfway with anything I do. I never settle or compromise when it comes to the stuff that I'm passionate about. And as you can probably tell by now, I love seeing that in animation. I love it when animators and people in general are having fun with what they're doing and can show it through their work. Demon Slayer, K-On!, Silent Voice, and Little Witch Academia are all examples of this. All of those aforementioned shows have what I've coined the Ghibli effect. The Ghibli effect is when any show, book, movie, or just any creative work has passion put into it. It's where you can tell someone loves what they do and does what they love. They put their 110% into each and every frame, page, shot, and line of dialogue. The reason why I coined this term in the first place is because I feel like that love of the game in some ways is missing from modern animation. They just don't have that passion for the craft, either because they lost it over time or they never had it in the first place and were just in it for the money. Now make no mistake, Studio Ghibli's a business. They want to make money. I'm all for people getting a bag, but what I'm saying is that at least put effort into it. Get your coin, but do it with passion. This thing about not having passion of course applies equally to both the East and the West. Both sides of the world have shows that lack the Ghibli effect, but there are also still Western shows coming out to this day that still have the Ghibli effect. shows like Voltron, OKKO, Amphibia, Owl House, and movies like Ratatouille, Turning Red, and Spider-Verse. And these are just some of the many Western animated works that I think have the Ghibli effect. And even though some of them were unnecessarily hated upon their release, Turning Red, they're still all amazing, and it's clear that the people working on these projects love what they made and are proud of what they're doing. I could and probably one day will do a whole video on animation as a whole, and use it as a thinly veiled excuse to gush about my favorite animation studios, but today is not that day. We gotta wrap this part up. In short, passion plus pride in your work equals the Ghibli effect. But that's just one of 3 aspects of Ghibli movies that I think makes them good. We got 1 down and 2 more to go. The thing that gets Studio Ghibli the most praise among other things is imagination. Imagination is probably the most important part of the process of animation. It's why shows like Demon Slayer get so much praise. Just look at how clean some of these shots look. The same can be applied to shows like Little Witch Academia. Then there's Ghibli, which in my opinion has better animation than either of them. And before you come after me, that's no insult to either Demon Slayer or Little Witch Academia, so you can put away your pitchforks and torches. What I meant was that I think Ghibli's animation is the best because of how much imagination they put into their work. Just look at the cat bus scene from My Neighbor Totoro, or any of the flying scenes from Porco Rosso or Kiki's Delivery Service. And don't even get me started on Pompoko's Yaki-Yagyo scene. Its unique takes on various different monsters from Japanese folklore combined with that signature Ghibli feel makes it one of my favorite scenes from any Ghibli movie hands down. Spirited Away's bathhouse scenes and the designs for the different spirits are also examples of this. And again, that's not to say that Little Witch Academia or Demon Slayer don't have imagination behind their animation, but what I am saying is that Ghibli has comparatively more imagination in my opinion. And obviously if you think differently, you're entitled to do so because art's probably the most subjective thing on the planet, and so is imagination. Imagination is the driving force to any animated work, be it a show, movie, or even YouTube animations. If you can't even use your imagination, then what's the point of animation? It's like pouring your cereal in before the milk, it just feels wrong. Also, I tweeted this out as a joke and I got roasted in the quote retweets. I got ratioed by miles. They really do be your own people, huh? Lesson learned, never do a funny on Twitter. It'll end badly. I'm kidding, it was funny and it got a good laugh out of me. I was joking, by the way. Only the criminally insane would pour the milk in before the cereal. I'm gonna stop myself right now before I go on a tangent. But going off of that point, like a correctly poured bowl of cereal, the imagination that goes into the animation of any given work is the main driving force of said work. And in that way, imagination is a part of the Ghibli effect. Remember, like I said before, the Ghibli effect is about how much passion is put into any given work, but also about how much imagination goes into it. Passion and imagination go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. Your work could have all the passion in the world put behind it, but if you can't use your imagination to complement that passion, then it'll turn out half-baked. It's sorta like The Promised Neverland. The first season was amazing. Everyone loved it. It was gripping, the premise was compelling and unique, and the execution had me on the edge of my seat. But then the second season came along and well, it was terrible. It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. It was so bad that Anime YouTube, which is one of the most divided communities on YouTube, came together in agreement that it sucked. Do you know how bad you have to be to unite the anime community of all places? That's honestly crazy. And in my opinion, one of the many millions of reasons why it was so bad is because it lacked the imagination that made the first season so great. Passion and imagination are 2 facets of what I think makes Studio Ghibli great, but there's still one more aspect of Ghibli that I've yet to mention. Music. Music is probably one of the most overlooked parts of any given show or movie. It's so overlooked, yet it contributes so much to the general vibe of the show or movie you're watching. This also applies to video games. Shout out to the Shantae and the Seven Sirens OST. It's pretty cool. And in the case of Ghibli, it's even more so because each and every track from the Ghibli movies that I've seen so far adds to the Ghibli effect. For example, On a Clear Day and Starting the Job from Kiki's Delivery Service and Nighttime Coming from Spirited Away. Those aforementioned songs all add to the atmosphere of the movie they're in and enhance the viewing experience. Any good OST should be able to do that in my opinion. In my opinion, an OST isn't there to overpower the show, but rather to be one with the show. It shouldn't be too loud or too quiet, it should blend in and complement the environment it's trying to blend into. And in turn, the environment should kinda complement the OST. It's kinda like how music works in my videos. I always try to make sure that the background music can be heard without it distracting from what I'm saying. It's honestly tough to do that properly and I always end up hyper-focusing on it. For me, it's one of the hardest parts of the video making process. That and recording. I hate hate recording. I one time spent 4 hours recording one singular line of dialogue. I wish I was joking. Don't worry, I'm not that much of a perfectionist anymore. The lack of music is probably worse than music that isn't properly mixed. That's just one of the many reasons why I hate this video I made. Yes, I do indeed hate a video I made. I normally love all my videos, but this one is the rare exception for so many reasons, but one of them is the lack of music. I hate this video with a burning passion, and I'll probably unlist it later. And speaking of music, I gotta say that my sadistic adolescence from the Nagatoro anime slaps, and I don't care what anyone else says. I'm gonna stop now before my friends yell at me. You know who you are. I'm gonna be honest, I'm running out of stuff to say for this part. What else can I say? It's just good music. That's all I have to say for this part, so we're moving on.
And a soul splinter, folded in another lonely night, visiting us for beginners, forcing my own sin before I give up. The summer's coming back, but it feels more like it's winter.
As always, thanks a bunch for watching this video in full, and I hope you enjoyed it. Ghibli movies hold a special place in my heart, as does the studio as a whole. The animation, stories, characters, and settings all have such a unique quality to them. I'd love to make more videos about animation studios I like and applying the Ghibli effect to studios like Trigger and Joannie. And before anyone asks, no, you cannot use the Ghibli effect. That term's already trademarked by me. As always, go sub to my 2 other channels. I also have a Spotify if you want to go follow that. I would also plug my Twitter, but I don't think Twitter's gonna survive past 2023. Shout out to Cash for getting me the footage, cause even though it didn't work out, they still deserve credit. It honestly does take a village to make these kinds of videos, cause even though I do all the editing with the exception of collab parts, Otaku Loaf videos are still a team effort. Thanks so much to GeekTunes for making the thumbnail for this video. The same goes for Oxy and Creed, who made the thumbnails for my Loose and Diversity videos respectively. Ritual made my avatar on my current channel, PFP. And of course you guys, the audience, who give me support and encouragement, which I can't ever thank you guys enough for. What I'm trying to say is thank you all for supporting little ol' me. And thanks so much to the people I mentioned before who helped me with my channel in one way or another. You guys are all amazing, and I'm always grateful for your support. I also made a Discord server so you guys can hang out and interact with me and stuff. Not on no parasocial stuff though. Please don't be weird. Also, back in April I took this photograph of a chocolate that ended up getting whittled down to the shape of Libya. I got nothing else to say. Bye.